All right, thank you guys for making it to the first live class of Ignite. Part two, bam. Part one is something we completed right through the summer break or through early late spring and into the summer. We have Sheena on here, Christine, we have Mo, we have Monica. We went through some introductions last week, and we're gonna get right into our Ignite plan. So the very first part of Ignite, so Ignite's broken into 4 sections, give or take 4 to 6 classes, broken into making you the real estate expert, helping you build your lead generation pillars or levers, depending on how you want to show that and do that. The lead follow-up, which is a huge part of what we do, and then the transaction, learning from A to Z how to run a transaction, whether you're representing the seller, the buyer, doing concurrent close, working on escrow, all that fun stuff. And to Christine and Sheena, and I'll say the same thing for anyone who logs on. Feel free to stop in or chime in if you have any questions. From time to time, I will be looking to my left, I'll be looking to my right. I just want to make sure we have every base covered here. Carly, thanks for jumping on with us. Quick question to Carly, are you using we have Brenda as well. I probably should give more people more time to jump on here. And Alessandra, by any chance, do you happen to, are you using a computer or are you using your phone?
Computer, is that okay?
Oh, no, perfect. I'm gonna drop into the chat. Hang on here. Oops, I dropped the share screen, no problem. I'm gonna drop this into the chat. This is the entire Ignite booklet that's loading into there. It's 365 pages, but it's just a PDF of everything that we're covering today. We're gonna be covering right through pages 7 through 28, give or take. Page 6, page 7, all the way through 28. Brenda, good to see you on here, a past Ignite graduate and upcoming instructor, but always awesome to brush up on the skills. The learning never stops. Let me find the little space that we were at. Here we go. So Ignite once again. Oh, got that. Gotta do that again. Hang on, guys. Guys, give me a quick moment. Lavette, can you hear me okay? Or maybe you can see us, but we can't see your mic, which is not a problem. I'm gonna put into the chat, Lavette. Oh, there she fell out. All right, cool. Maybe we'll just have to. Oh no, she's here. I see Lavette. Lavette, real quickly, are you on a laptop or desktop by any chance? If so, I put into the chat and you logged in the Ignite student handbook. It's the full version PDF. So feel at liberty to download that or open it, and you can run through it with us on your phone. I'm not sure if you can open it from your phone, but definitely from a laptop or desktop, you can definitely do so. Awesome, awesome. So just jumping in with you guys, back to our share screen here. Ignite, as I was sharing, is broken up into essentially four sections. Here we go. It's broken into one section, really making you guys a real estate expert, building into your lead generation, your lead follow-up, which is a huge part of what we get to do, and our transaction. Here's the course overview. The first 4 are dedicated to sparking your career, which we're going to go over today. Embrace your dog, connect with your market, define your value. And here's a spoiler alert for the rest in terms of lead generation. If you notice here, it's generating leads, database, capturing the open house, building through social media and other outlets. Lead follow-up, which is a huge part of what we do. A lot of times people ask, well, what do I do like after the first call? How do we stay in touch? What are the preferred methods? All those fun pieces. We cover that through our program. And then lastly is the transaction. What you're going to find out when we go into transaction, a lot of it is pretty much overlap. The same way we work with a buyer is similar to how we work with a seller, and the only difference is we make we have a photographer or stager, different elements that get swapped, but the timeline and process is almost the same, just kind of overlap with other items. Those with us on the page in the book list, if you want to flip over to page 3, or essentially page 2, we're almost on page 3. We're going to go over today a new way of thinking, our KW culture, value, our KW value, market center value, our resources, your career vision, and then we're going to go right into our accountability portion of what we do in Ignite. Okay, so here's the quote of the day. I'm going to ask for participation on this. So anyone can do it, not everyone will you. And that's straight from the millionaire real estate investor. Everyone has the ability to do real estate, you know, get a license, to get out there. Unfortunately, not everyone will follow through on the steps. Now, there might be some where you might just say, hey, I'm really good at this one aspect, and I'm gonna exploit that and do really well. And believe it or not, you can still get results, right? You don't need to do every step in Ignite or every step in the plan in order to get a transaction, right? It's just to what extent you want to grow that career, grow that business, or see that vision through. On page 3, for those of us with the handouts, we have our 6 personal perspectives, and you're going to see this as a recurring theme, not only through Ignite, but more so life in bold, when you get into bold, and all those fun pieces, committing to self-mastery, committing to the 80-20 principle, moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful, that's what E2P is, being learning-based, the foundation of your action plan. So like Brenda's here with us, she graduated from Ignite prior, and she's here training with us and doing this with us as well. And that's because, you know what, the saying goes is that you are never, the person crossing the river is never the same. The river is no different, neither the person crossing the river. So at the same time, when you're learning something new and you're seeing something for the second time, there might be something that really stands out that you didn't see the first time around, right? Removing your limiting beliefs and being accountable. Committing to self-mastery is knowing your goals, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and knowing how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to seek and master the necessary knowledge, skills, habits to reach your goals. To people on Zoom and here in class, how does this resonate with you? What are some things you can think about when you see commitment to self-mastery? What are those things what does it mean to you to commit to self-mastery? And it's an open free-for-all, so you guys just go get right into it.
Know your goal means how many sales you want to have, how much money you want to make. What's your way to do that, to go to that goal?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's very important to have goals. Like without the goal, you don't know how much work you need to put in, right? Like when I said earlier, if your goal is 1 sale, you probably don't need to do every step of this entire program, right? If someone said, hey, my goal is 100 or 50 or 30 or 60 or 70, then maybe now it's, oh, okay, here's the goal. This is what I need to do to get it. This is the work I need to put in, right? So now you have an idea of what that is. So it's very important to know sales, numbers, how much money, what that money means and what it will do for you. Because it makes everything else so much more easy. We like to call that our first domino, knowing, hey, this is my goal. Now what? Right? But no, you nailed it. How about anyone on Zoom or Mon, if you have anything you'd like to share?
I'll share, if that's okay. I love the commitment to self-mastery. It's being a lifelong learner, always knowing yourself and just, getting better. And I like how it says knowing your strengths and weaknesses and working how you work with both of those, because always people think of weaknesses. I think of that's bad. Oh my gosh, but you can make it work for you. So that's like a really, I think, healthy and positive perspective.
There you go. There you go. And you were sharing something here.
Just the self-mastery, just to seek, what you want to learn. I mean, we cannot just keep depending on somebody else. We have to go look after it on our own what we want to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, my weaknesses right now, I don't know what to do with a listing appointment, but I'm not gonna focus on, I'm gonna focus on, hey, let me work on my strength, which is so many others, right? And then just learn as I go.
There it is.
So,
Yeah, that learning as you go part is huge in real estate. I mean, there's so much to learn, there's so much to know. We'll never know it all in order to make an appointment happen. So unfortunately, as much as we train and prepare, we can be the most prepared we can be. However, you're still gonna learn as you go. Like I remember my first broker saying that at 44 years in business, to that day, when she was still doing sales, she would learn something new in every escrow. 44 years in, right? And it's true because the contracts are changed, everything's different. People are different. Christine's here sharing that this is probably her 5th or 6th time, and she's learning something new at every level. So high five, Christine. That is just so true. The skills, because you get better as you grow and as you commit to your growth plan. And by committing to self-mastery, it's a never-ending process. We call it, Tony Robbins calls it not a constant, never-ending improvement. And that is the secret sauce to every business is to never stay stagnant. Let's see here. Commit to the 80-20 principle. This is so this is you're gonna see this is another recurring theme. 20% of your action will lead to 80% of your results, right? 20% of actions could be the calls you make, the contacts you make, the appointments you set, the contracts you negotiate, all that fun stuff. The 80% of our results might be putting together an MLS flyer, putting together an email blast list. It might be working on your marketing, working on your headshot, stuff, but that still are important, yet at the same time, it's not a make, do all, be all type of thing, right? So the 20% of your actions kind of save a little bit of time or like the key things that will make the rest of your results pan through, right? And that might even be lead generation. You might only have, you're gonna hear a ton of ideas tomorrow at a sales meeting, a ton of ideas as you go through different events, all this stuff. But 20% of what you do, like maybe call for your sphere of influence, maybe open houses, maybe working your farm, those are going to produce the majority of the results. I know Levette's on here with us, and she's on a really good string of helping buyers, right? And I imagine if she listed out all the things that she's doing, like a big chunk of those clients are coming from 1 or 2 or 3 core activities, maybe just 1 core activity out of 5 that's generating those results. So kudos to you, Levette, if you can hear us or see us. Awesome job. E to P, I'm going to ask you guys for some participation on this. This is the entrepreneurial approach on the left-hand side. It talks about you just, man, right out the gate, super excited. And then you hit that wall, that ceiling, disappointment. You go into a little valley of resignation. You think, man, greener pastures, and then you take off again with that same entrepreneurial energy, hit that same ceiling, and then the cycle continues, right? In order to break away from that, take that same entrepreneurial energy that you're bringing to the game right now, you get right into focus mode, which is what we're doing. This is Ignite is meant to be a focus opportunity to get your head around basic systems, around your goals, around your vision, in order to copy models, copy systems, and you break through every single time, right? The very first system I learned, guys, was just to have a database. And like Christine, I used eEdge and just said, you know what? If all else fails, I'm going to make sure as many people as I can have on this program, just so I can simply follow up with them. Made a world of difference for our career. So they went from accidental phone calls, accidental emails, accidental follow-up, to being purposeful on my follow-up, purposeful on why we were calling, and having a simple, simplistic touch plan. And then of course it evolved when I started following the coach. And then with that coach, I copied models, copied systems, and then we were able to break through multiple ceilings of income, ceilings of achievement, and ceilings of business, simply by following a few key things. Even before the database, the big one for me was the daily 10-4. We talked about that during launch. That is making 10 contacts a day, send out 10 thank you notes, add 10 people to your database, and do the social media 10, which is like 10 posts, comment on 5 of them, and DM 1 person a day, which, when you think about it, that we can also count contacts as two-way text message and two-way DM dialogue, right? But think of E to P, anytime you feel like you're stuck, think of, okay, what am I focused on? What model am I using or not using that I could add? And what systems am I not using or using that I could either modify or add to it? And then before you know it, that's when you start making your breakthroughs, is by analyzing those pieces. Now, if you feel like, wow, gosh, I don't have any of that. I have focus, I have energy, and I have drive and passion. How are we directing that passion and drive, right? Like I have the energy, I can talk to 500 people, and am I following up with them? What system am I putting them into so that I can have a systematic way to touch them and follow up with them? Those are kind of the questions that help us move from entrepreneurial to being purposeful in that nature. Number 4, make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. This one is kind of kind of almost self-explanatory, but when you look at the right-hand side, learning base, I know what I know and there's more to know. This is almost the removal of a person with ego, right? The person who comes in and says, hey, I know what I know and screw the rest. I'm good as I am and I've gotten myself to this point. You know, and yeah, you can probably get far, no doubt about it. So imagine how much further you would get if you just allowed yourself to a little step off the ego training and just say, gosh, there's so much more I can learn from everybody. And that gives you the perspective of knowing for doing sake and you break through. You have the productivity to break through to other places and not just here in the business, but also in life, at home, around. And Monica and I were tied to Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. So we constantly have to keep those in mind. Because there's always something to take to teach us that we can't teach them, right? And in real estate and business, there's no difference. Real quick, does anybody have any kind of perspective on this that they would like to share with the rest of you that can really help each other? All right, well, go on to the next one, but definitely just keep an open mind for sure. Number 5, or well, about to be number 5. I'm neither especially clever nor especially gifted. I am only very, very curious, and that's Albert Einstein. Something Gary Keller shared on stage when he was a brand, and he still did this when he was still in the field. But on his listings, he was new, 20, 22, 23 years young, going out selling real estate. And he would say, hey, that's a great question. I actually don't know how to do what you're asking me to do. But just to be on the safe side, I can go back, get the information, the answer you need, and I can bring it back to you. Aside from that, is there any reason you wouldn't want to get started with getting your home sold today? And then he would say, you know, you would wait and they would say, yeah, there's nothing else. We'll go ahead and sign the listing with you. Even though he didn't have the answer, he was very transparent and saying, look, I don't have it all. I don't know it all. I'm young. Yet I work with people and know people who have all the right answers, or I will work to find the answer. And that's why you're hiring me, to help be resourceful and help you get you through to the end. And he would still get them to sign the listing agreement, and interest rates were through the roof, and he would still help them sell their real estate, right? So even in a changing market and landscape, he kept a very curious mindset throughout. Now, this is something we're never, ever going to get rid of in terms of limiting beliefs and unlimiting beliefs, right? Your limiting beliefs is, I don't have enough time for training. Thank you guys for being here. I can't be successful in this market, right? I can't devote 3 hours each day to lead generation. These are literally ideas that some of us may be keeping inside of us, whereas unlimiting beliefs are when you unlimit your thinking, you unlimit your success, right? So, and when I say you'll never remove all your limiting beliefs, because there's always new levels to it, right? You go from, cool, I can lead generate 3 hours a day, but I don't know if I can lead generate luxury listings. You know, those people are really wealthy and blah, 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 blah. Some of the stupid things I play in my head when I'm working on removing those unlimiting beliefs, right? So there are still things as you progress through your business and through your career and through life, and you're just going to have that. And the way to do it is to work on your unlimiting belief ideas about you, working on your confidence, your competence. The more understanding you have, the more it will drive you to lead generate, to be more of a problem solver and off you go. And lastly, be accountable. This is the 6th personal perspective, and you're going to see us layer this in to what we do. Life happens, and this is how how we show up. On one side, doesn't seek reality, ignorance, ask no question. On the other side, you seek reality, awareness. What's the situation like, right? Other times people fight reality and go into denial mode. Others acknowledge reality and seek to ask for clarity. This is the way it is. Got it. I'll see what's going on. On one side, things happen, people will blame and project their problems onto other people, right? And the other side, extreme ownership, owns it. Looks at their energy and focus, says, this to be, it's up to me. What do I want? This is my responsibility. And the moment we own it, as crazy as it sounds, all the answers start flooding to us. Because now it's no longer, if I blame John over here for all the things that are going wrong, now I have to wait for John to fix it, right? And what if John's not capable of fixing it, right? And now I'm just in this negative forever loop of hey, it's John's fault, John's not fixing it, it's still John's fault, the problem still exists, right? Whereas, okay, well, let me think of a real life example. Appraiser missed a comp, right? I'm the listing agent. It's not the buyer's fault that he didn't show up with comps and educate the appraiser on what needed to be done. I scheduled the appointment with the appraiser. Appraiser showed up. I didn't prepare our assistant very well with the comps, and B, I should have been there. So it's not the assistant's fault. It's not the buyer's agent's fault. It's not the appraiser's fault. It's my fault for scheduling it and not being there with my assistant with the proper comps to go over everything, right? So I'm not going to blame John, the listing agent, the buyer agent. I'm not going to blame our assistant. I'm not going to blame the appraiser, definitely not the appraiser. So I'm going to own it. And now by owning it, I can say, okay, what are my options? Hey, before he publishes it, let me see if we can get a rebuttal. Hey, Mark, my apologies. You know what? I didn't prepare my assistant well with comps. I left out 2 comps that really should have been in there. Maybe give consideration to ABC and ABC, right? And then off we go. As opposed to me playing the blame game just to circle it back to myself. I've wasted time, I've wasted energy, I've wasted all this stuff, and I lost a ton of leadership capital with my teammate, with the agent on the other side. It's a total mess, right? Personal excuses, that's one way to show up. Another way to find solutions. I think you really get there faster when you own the situation. Number 5, or lastly, waits and hopes, which is kind of like that resignation feeling, or gets on with it, says, okay, hey, we got our options. Let's just take immediate action and get over this as quickly as possible. The victim is the really all status quo, everything's there, accountable, the equals change. You had that opportunity to get out of this funk. Anyone would like to share anything on this topic of the 6 personal perspectives on being accountable?
Yeah.
All right. We'll keep on rolling then. Happiness is not an individual sport. Sean Baker, author. Any thoughts on that? Am I the only one? I'm happy when I'm with my wife, happy, high five. Woo, I'm happy when I'm with you guys. So it's definitely not an individual sport, right? All goes around. Ahas from all the stuff that we covered. Then we covered a bunch in that first 20 minutes or so. Okay, you guys are the coolest group so far. Like our last one, we got into like deep philosophical thinking, so this is pretty exciting. We're just getting right into it.
I have a question.
Yeah, fire away.
Uh, I know kind of I have learned that we have to go after whatever we need. Okay. But really sometimes I get confused between all the information I'm getting, which way I have to go follow first. How can I say it? I'm getting too many links. I don't know which one have to go first. I mean, sometimes I feel I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think a lot of links and training can be, I think of our business as like four pillars, right? Like
Can I
4.
explain more?
Sure.
I open one link when I go through it because you have to go through something else first before this one. So I'm wasting my time on something and then I figure, okay, I have to go to that one first. When I go to that one, I have to know something before that. You know, there is no direction that says, okay,
Yeah,
go with this one first, after you're done, follow this one. You know what I mean?
yeah. Unfortunately, the way the real estate's set up, it's not like a traditional university, right? Like you have your 101 classes and your 201, your 301, 401, and it's all kind of drawn out for you. With real estate, the way the learning is, we kind of time our learning with the market as well. So for example, when we cover things like market of the moment, our sales meeting, well, the sales meeting on a Tuesday will be very different from the training on MLS given by the board, right? So you're almost learning out of balance, out of sync. And in, like, for example, in Ignite, these first 4 classes, we're gonna cover nothing about MLS, about car forms. Yet at the same time that you're learning this, you'll have an opportunity to learn about contracts with Rich, or learn directly at the board, these other events. And they'll say, well, you should learn this thing first, but you know, that thing that you should be learning isn't gonna happen for another 3 weeks. So you might as well just learn whatever they're teaching you there. The best answer I have for that is don't wait to know it all necessarily. Like start attending open houses when you can, partner with somebody just so you can shadow the open house. Make calls with teammates that are making phone calls like us or Brenda or whoever's here at the office. And that way, when you're hearing them on the phone and maybe you make a phone call or two, you get a question from a client and you're probably not gonna know the answer to everything. But there's a likelihood that at least you have something to bring back and say, hey, this is the question. Do we even do that? How do we address it? And that's real estate. And real estate is nothing more than finding people who need to buy or sell real estate. And that usually means they have a problem that buying or selling helps them solve that problem. Some people who one of their assets is real estate, they need to save money or use that money for something, they'll go to need to sell it or what their options are, right? So you're solving a problem when it comes to their needs around that. And all of this learning that we do is really just to make you feel confident that A, you can help them or have the answers to help them, or it empowers you to reach out to more people and not worry about getting lost in all the learning. You know, honestly, there's so many books that we need to read and reread and read again, you know, that we haven't gone to, you know, but at the same time, we're constantly making our phone calls, doing our outreach, doing all those pieces, you know, to kind of tie it all together. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of that. But to answer your question, it's all over the map. I mean, Christine's been in the business for a while with that. Brenda's been with us for a year or 2 or 3, and the learning has never stopped. So that's why when we started earlier with the idea of being learning based, the foundation of your lead generation, is that the learning will fuel your prospecting. Your prospecting will then fuel your ability to learn more, and then it just keeps on going one into another, propelling you up. So hopefully that helps. Because right now I know it feels it a lot. So like I told Monica, you're not going to learn it as best as you can unless you're helping clients. Because that's when the contracts start to stick. That's when searching for a property makes more sense when you're really looking for a house specific for that client. And then it starts sinking in. And of course you have our support. So it's much more different when you're working for a client right away. So hopefully that helps shed a little light, and then we'll get deeper into it. Oh, you're for sure. You're welcome. The KW culture. Now, I want to go over the culture aspects of Keller Williams so that you guys have an idea of A, what's actually out there, and B, if you leverage these events for your own sphere, your own marketing, your own abilities to reach out. So we have Red Day, KW Cares, our mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. We have KW Cares, KW Kids Can, diversity, equity, inclusion, cultural ambassadors, all these events here. One that sticks out is KW Kids Can, that's engaging the next generation of not realtors, but of entrepreneurs and mindsets, all those fun things. You're going to see this as a recurring theme, and copy this as part of your vision and mission when you're out there sharing it with your clients and with the world. Our mission, and you can adjust this for you, but the grandiose is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. You know, when I joined the business, the one thing that stood out to me was lives worth living. That was like the only 3 that they had when we first joined. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? It's not about like making the most sales possible, making the most money possible. It's about living a life worth living, right? Having that in our existence. And for me early on, that was a life worth living was taking my kids to school and picking them up on time, which today I should still be able to pick them up on time. I thought, whew, that's on Monica's mind. Hey, are you gonna pick up the kids on time today? Yes. Our belief system, and again, you can screenshot this if you're on a computer. I believe it's Command Shift 3 or Alt Shift 3 in order to do that. Win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing, customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first, understand, creativity, ideas before results, teamwork, together everyone achieves more, trust starts with honesty, equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. And you're gonna see that I'm gonna ask you guys, where are the Y4C2Ts, that whatever we're dealing with applies to, right? When all else fails in lines of communication, go back to the Y4C2Ts, right? Like, oh, communication. Maybe I really need to seek to understand where they're coming from before I totally like drop a hammer on them, right? Because not all things are solved with a hammer in real estate. Sometimes it's just more or less a matter of dialing in and asking questions. Yep, yep, do your thing. Go ahead, grab the kids and jump back on and go. He's gone. It's all good. But it's definitely something to really consider when working in real estate, is keep these items there. And the same thing applies when you're building a group, working with admin, all that fun stuff, all the players involved in a real estate transaction, and so forth. We have other events, Red Day, which most of you guys know about. KW Cares, quick little note on KW Cares, we have an opportunity to donate money per transaction at any time that we want to do so. And that actually takes care of agents within Keller Williams. So we have events where when I first joined, and an agent lost his brother in a car accident, and then shortly after that, his dad died from a heart attack. Not a whole lot you can do about that, but the office that we were part of, KW Port Ranch, they decided to help pay for the funerals. So they didn't have any life insurance. That's another thing, get your own life insurance policies, but he wasn't set. They weren't necessarily set up, but the office helped take care of a big chunk of the funeral expenses. They helped take care of his mortgage for a couple months and some money to help kind of ease him back into the selling aspect. Because everything that we do, it's really all up here. In his mind, obviously losing two loved ones back to back, you know, you're not prospecting. Or maybe you need to take some time to really decompress, but the financial burden is still there. So the office used the funds from KW International through KW Cares to cover funeral expenses, to cover the medical bills that had come up, you know, in trying to save his brother's life. The cost of his mortgage, the cost to get around, all those fun things were taken care of through KW Cares. We'll skip just for now. KW value, our market center value. And I'm going to kind of skip over this portion of it. If you just Google Keller Williams, I mean, there's like so many killer things that we do. All of the events that we have, and then to Mojan's point, I don't want you guys to get bogged down on all the stuff you can attend, because there's tons of it. Oh my Lord, it's nonstop. And I'll tell you this now, I wanted to quit Keller Williams about 2 years ago, was it? You know, I got so frustrated. I thought, you know, we're working from home. We only use command. What if we just opened our own brokerage and then just had our own database? There was a lot of holes in that thinking, right? So the one thing I couldn't overcome was command, right? The closest thing I could find was called KD Core, which is what command is sort of based on, loosely based on. And KD Core is here. KD Core was $1,500 a month to run a system that was only like 10% of what we get from command, right? And if I wanted to cheap out and go to Salesforce, even that was $125 a month, and it was super basic, right? It wasn't that great. So for those of us who are really hesitant of jumping on KW command, we were on our own using it with all the stuff that we get here, all the paid stuff that we get in discounts for Facebook and Instagram. Think of it as a $10,000 a month platform that we're only paying $25 a month fee. Okay, so like our consortium fee, that's $25 of our $75 that we pay. I think all of us are paying $75 more or less, but that $25 goes all into the technology platform, and we get all that. Like again, I thought of leaving KW and doing my own thing. The platform alone would have been super costly. And I would have had to build it, and I would have to troubleshoot all the stuff that I have no idea how to do. So that's my little thing on value add. The KW app, command app, I honestly don't use it, but when I have logged into it, it is awesome. I just don't work with my app. I just have my own little things, and through this Ignite process, I will be using command app more. But I will tell you, it is a living app to work through. Not going to get into that. Market Center, I didn't actually register all of it. So I will say here, last year the office did $2 billion in sales volume, which is pretty unheard heard of. Not a bad thing, really should update that. HODs, KW resources. So now, I'm gonna show you guys these resources, because this is what Keller Williams does offer. However, when it comes to mortgage, you have your own mortgage people here, right? You have Cindy, you've got your go-to team outside the office. If ever you have a seller who's like, holy cow, what do you guys do that how can you guys help? Well, yeah, we have Keller manages a property management company, Keller covers an insurance company. Keller Offers is a site within Keller Williams that will write an offer on somebody's house. Like, first of all, if it's a killer deal, maybe we should buy it right ourselves. But B, if they really want something where it's like an iBuyer situation, Kelly Offers would be that situation for them. Right, and when we look at all of these items here, if you wanted to build your network around servicing your clients, this is certainly a way to do it. So if you want to screenshot that, that's awesome. Let's see here. Different KW communities. I know some of us are in sports and entertainment. There's a new one here called Real Estate Planner. That's something I signed up for. They only allow us a small amount of people. A small amount of people to join per market center. I believe it's 100, not 100, 1 per 100 agents per market center. So we have 365, they'll round us up to 400. That means only 4 of us can become real estate planners with that. So but again, just whatever kind of resonates with you. That deals in 1031 exchanges, living trust, probates, setting people up for the afterlife, and in terms of their assets being diversified or sent out to all of their family members. Your career and vision. So now this is why I wanted to kind of spread out as quickly as possible. Everyone, if you guys here can jump over to page, I have it already, page 15 or 1.15. Read this to yourself, right? Or your business is thriving, your life is everything you dreamed of. Take a few minutes. If you're online, sitting in the car, or here, take 2 minutes. I'm going to read it out loud, and in 2 minutes at the bottom, write this paragraph out. Today is September 12th, 2022. Your business is thriving, and your life. Oh, sorry, a year from now, 2023. Your business is thriving. Your life is everything you dreamed of. Your customers rave about the experience and value you provide, and think of you when they have a real estate need. Your family and friends are so proud of your success and are consistently referring business your way. I would say constantly, consistently and constantly referring business your way. You're helping others live their dream by owning a home because you are focused on helping them get what they desire. You're building the foundation and momentum for your entire career and gaining relationships and experiences and the income you desire. You're the top agent in your market center, rookie of the year, and you're just kicking butt. You're poised to hire a part-time assistant to handle your 80% while you take care of the 20% that grows your business. You are on the path to. Now, for a moment, write it in or think about it in your mind. Because what you focus on expands, right? Any ahas on that or anything you guys would like to share? You guys are going to have to take a quick minute to write it down or think about it. And then here on this next page, motion writing. Oh, motion writing. Okay, I'm going to hang tight. I'm going to do this exercise too. So I want to play that little video. All right. And then here we have your big life. And then this is always a fun exercise. We always ask people, hey, what you have a financial goal, like what is the number of income or cash flow or not cash flow, but the number of income, the amount of income you want to make this year, next year, the year after that, all this fun stuff. And when you look at it, you know, some people give me a number like 150,000. Well, what does that mean? What does that do for you? Right? Like, or $1 million. Well, what does that do for you? Or $5 million. Well, what does it mean? What does it mean to do that? Right? And then so when you write out a number, in this case, they're using the example of $364,000. 5,000 is a donation. Donate for a cat habitat in this example. You know, help Sarah and Hunter, their kids, get through school debt free, 120 for that year. Mom and dad pay off your mortgage, 18 grand. That must be a really old mortgage, right? And then the rest could be like lifestyle and savings and taxes. But let's say this is after tax income. Like write down a number, and now this is for page 116 for those in there. But you might not even start with the number, right? What I found super helpful, and Monica kind of beat me to the punch there on her page, is that you can, and she actually did it the right way. I started with number, but sometimes you might be thinking of your current responsibilities, right? Like, okay, on one bubble might be mortgage, $4,000 for my mortgage, or 30 or $3 grand for rent, whatever it is. And then you can go around it like, okay, this year, so times 12, that's $36,000 for the mortgage, or in our case, $48,000 for the mortgage. Okay, plug that in. You know, then, oh yeah, we have the kids event, so it's run about $500 a month. Okay, so that's $6,000 per year. And then you can write in there all the things that would come out of that larger pool, right? And the reason all this goes into, hang on here. Oh, yeah. Is different on this page. No, never mind. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna go into your big why, but that's on a later part. But to achieve success, you need motivation and inspiration for doing it. And this is your big why, right? Like when you break down the numbers are there just to give you guys an idea of what you're striving towards. And then there has to be a why behind it. Like when we hit our numbers, there was always a reason, there was a big reason for it. It actually drove us to build a business, get financially secure to a degree, and we're still like figuring that stuff out. You know, but there's always a new kind of hurdle. But by having that number in place and then the reasons behind it, like you might just say, look, Philip, I want 100 grand just so I can go travel for 4 months. Okay, build it in. No shame in that game. You know, I want to make an extra 100 grand just so I don't have to think about the kids' bills. You know, it's just to have money saved and renovate our house. Yeah. You know, and that there's nothing wrong with the reasons that motivate us to get out there and serve the community and do what's right for our clients, right? Because you can do right for a client and just say, God, I'm tired. You know, I need to refer it out, or I just have to say no. But this will help be a guiding light and keep you centered as you get there. And it doesn't have, it can be a crazy number. I remember when making 200,000 was a crazy number. And then when we made 500,000, I thought, man, I was thinking too small, right? So now it's like, okay, well, how do we attain more? How do we do more of that, of the good stuff that got us to where we're at? So that big why will be the power. They always talk about a Jim Rohn, for those who know, he talks about how a needle can prick you. Right? Like it'll prick a man, it'll prick a woman. But if you take that same needle and tie it to a stick, a large stick, and you can plunge that stick with the needle right through somebody's heart, it'll kill a man. Right? That same needle can kill a person when attached to a longer stick. And that longer stick is your big why. That little needle is us. You know, that is us just trying to figure out real estate, trying to do our thing. That stick behind it is that big why that gives us purpose, reason in order to launch and do our business, do our deal, right? Where our commission dollars go, part of it goes to the other agent, market center, business expenses, taxes, my wife, getting my kids, our kids, you know, and then eventually we take a little bit for ourselves. I joke that all I get is like $500 a month to spend on myself. And I think Monica here about the same. Fun times. Here's an example of an income goal. So if your net income goal is $100,000, right? And your company, now obviously our company royalty fee is not $30,000, it's $23,000 total. You may have some business expenses. Let's say in year one, your business expense is $12,000. So now your total is gonna be 35,000. Your total needs to be 180, average commission. If you guys wanna roll with me on this for a little bit, we could have that here. So let's say, Monica, do you mind giving me an example?
Okay.
What's your net income goal?
700,000.
$700,000. And then your company dollar and royalty cap combined would be 23,000. Business expenses, what would you call your business expense total would be, give or take? Okay, let's say on average, $500 a month licenses, all that stuff, that's $6,000 per year. Total gross commission income. You is your total, which is the total of A and B and C all together. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, so your net income goal, so 729,000 will be your total. And then your average commission, so if we took 800,000, that would be under what the actual average is in the San Fernando Valley. But say 800,000 times 2.5%, let's say that were the average commission. That would be about $20,000 a transaction. So then you would take 729,000 divided by $20,000. That'd be 36.45 transactions. So now Monica's goal, every time she's out there making calls, scheduling appointments, working with buyers, the goal would be to get to 36.45 transactions. When you reverse engineer that, you're right, 12, 24, 36, that's 3 transactions a month. So sorry, I'm like outside the camera, but for 3 transactions a month, if you started today, which he has, but if you started today like cold turkey and needed to start building her pipeline through her database, through her Facebook, through Instagram, through TikTok, through the old high school directory, through everyone at time, all her friends, you just started, calling around listings, all that stuff, she could purposefully build a pipeline to where every month she had 3 deals a month happening, regardless of where they were coming from. And then she could be on a path to hitting that, right? Now, you can even say, well, damn, what if I did half of that? Or what if I referred half of the business, or I did half of it with a mentor or whatever? Well, then cool, just split it in half. And then now you're, instead of 700, you're at 360, whatever the numbers are. But now at least you have an idea of how to get there. Levette and Alessandra, you guys have been hanging with us. Does that make sense to you guys in terms of how that works?
Yes.
Awesome. Good deal. And if you guys have questions, we'll be around throughout the week, with the exception of tomorrow with the Realtor Expo. But beyond that, if you guys have questions when we're on Zoom together or in person, let us know. Your vision income. Now, this is a fun one, which we can do on our own, but then this would be like a crazy number goal. And I say crazy number, this is like, hey, when you have like 4 or 5 houses, or whatever motivates you, but like having a house in every weather climate type of thing, what would that net income be to support that, right? And then our daily success system, our last little piece for today is our daily success systems. Every day, the goal is to have 10 conversations, have 10 contacts added to your database or updated, 10 handwritten notes sent, or 10-5-1 social media engagement. We have a couple of enrichments, we won't jump into that necessarily, but I was telling Monica, like, even if it wasn't a daily 10-4, and it was a daily 5-4, 5 conversations, 5 contacts added, 5 handwritten notes, 5 engagements on social media, that alone will take you places. So you have to look at your schedules, right? If you guys are running full-time homes, full-time jobs, and then real estate's like kind of the bottom of the priority list, that's okay. Acknowledge it and then find a way for it to make a win in your day, right? Like, I'm not going to look at someone who's spare time and then judge them harshly that they couldn't have 10 conversations in a day, right? I mean, that's not fair to them and fair to what we do. However, you look and see where you can make those wins happen, and then you leverage and go. Any questions before we jump off for today? No? Looks like we're solid. Any questions for you guys? Awesome. So as a homework assignment, I want, for those of us coming back, Lavette, high five, Alessandra. The big one thing, aside from making those contacts and everything, is write out your big why. Why are you doing real estate? Why are you going through Ignite? So that portion, big why, and then be prepared, sort of, if you guys are open. I may pick on someone to share what that would equal, right? Why do they need to go after this number? Sometimes for me, it was a feeling of I beat my mom's income. You know, I made more money than my mom. Boom. You know, and it felt good. So it was like beating out Apollo Creed, right? In a good way. I love my mom, but she is that person who I said, hey, I want to beat her, and we beat her, right? Now it's how do we beat this? And that's our own little thing that motivates us. So thank you so much, Alessandra, for being with us. Love that. Keep on crushing it. I think you're like we could definitely make like top 10 this year. It feels like, yeah, I just see the post. It's amazing. And we have Alan Rosenberg jumping on with us to Ignite as well as we're jumping off. But it's good to see you guys, and everyone take care. Have a good one. See ya.